Hey, this is Mr. Mola with a quick video on the writing linear functions. So it looks like a couple of the questions that got missed are all the same. So they give you something like this in slope-intercept form, and we need to turn it into, in point-slope form, and we need to turn it into slope-intercept form. And that's not too bad. Probably requires some pencil and paper because it is 2 steps of math. So the first thing we're going to do is distribute whatever number's in front of the parentheses. So in this case, it's a -2, and I'm going to multiply that by everything inside the parentheses. So -2 times x is -2x. -2 times +5 is a -10. So that's pretty much the first step we need to do. And then the second step we need to do is get rid of this number here next to the y. So in this case, it is a minusing 3. So we always do the opposite. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Same thing, if it said y plus 3, I would do the opposite, so then I would subtract 3. But since this one says y minus 3, I'm going to end up adding 3 to both sides. So then I get -2x, and then I get -10 plus 3 is a -7. So then the y-intercept of this line is -7. Next one is exactly the same thing. So y plus 6, and then equals 1/3 x minus 9. So same thing, first step, I'm going to distribute that thing in front of the parentheses. In this case, it is a 1/3. So y plus 6 equals 1/3 times x is 1/3 x. 1/3 of -9 is a -3. Same thing, I'm going to get rid of this number by the y. In this case, it is a +6. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to -6 from both sides. So if I -6 from the other side, I get -3 minus 6. Which in this case is -9. So it looks like we're looking at that option right there. This one's a little different. So it tells us the slope of the line is 1/3, and then it tells us we have an x and a y here. So I'm going to actually have to write out that equation there. So instead of y, like I'm back here, it doesn't give me this equation. So this one's just one step harder where I need to write that equation there. So I'm going to put y minus 1 equals 1/3, and then x minus a -2, which really turns into then a +2. Otherwise, now it's exactly the same thing as what we just did. The only problem is this problem's one step harder because it doesn't give us the equation. It just tells us, hey, there's the x and the y. Figure out the equation, and then do those 2 steps. So 2 steps are the same. So distribute the 1/3. Fortunately, this one has a lot more fractions. 1/3 times 2 is 2/3. And then I have a y minus 1. So I'm going to end up adding 1 to both sides. Adding 1. So I get y equals 1/3 x. And then 2/3 plus 1 is 5/3. So I end up getting option B there. All right. This one. Same thing. So we don't know the formula. They didn't give it to us this time. So we're going to have to fill it out and see what it looks like. So y minus, my y there is 3. Tells me my slope is 1, so that goes on the outside of the parentheses. And then my x is 5. So again, this one's one step harder because it didn't give us the equation. Otherwise, it's the same steps. Distribute that 1. So 1 times x is just x. 1 times -5 is -5. Same thing, I got a -3 here, so I'm going to end up adding 3 to both sides. So y equals x, -5 plus 3 is a -2. And then the last one here, again, the same kind of thing. It gives us the equation this time, so we don't have to come up with it. And then we have to do those 2 steps of distributing and then adding or subtracting. So distribute, distribute. So y plus 2, -2 times x is -2x. -2 times a -5, 2 negatives now, so +10. Same thing, it says y plus 2. I'm always going to do the opposite. So opposite of adding 2 is subtracting 2. And I'm going to do that to both sides. So y equals -2x. 10 minus 2 is 8. So there's my answer there. Hope that helps.